So another beautiful day in July. It's absolutely amazing how great it's been. I mean, we get maybe a week of hot temperatures. I think we've had 2 weeks so far, not in a row. And then it cools off and it's just beautiful, nice breeze. This is incredible. It's 80 degrees. Chickens are comfortable. So I've been talking to you about the differences between living off-grid and a self-sustaining lifestyle, or mostly self-sustaining, and preppers who talk about stockpiling for SHTF. Stuff hits the fan. And the series of videos that I've been making about this have done really well, getting a lot of feedback. The click-through rate and all that is really high. Watch time's really high. Right after the 4th of July, things have slowed down a little bit, but people are subscribing to the channel again. People are really interested in learning about how to survive an SHTF using self-sustaining methods versus stockpiling. When I first started this, I thought I was going to get a lot of flack. Well, I actually did get a lot of flack. That people were going to say, no, prepping's better, prepping's better, prepping's better. But the more I get into this series, the less I'm hearing that, and the more I'm hearing, this is a really good series. So I appreciate the positive feedback. I appreciate that you're getting something out of it. But we've been living off-grid for nearly, well over 2 years now. And then we lived as nomads in national forests for a few years, traveled the country. That was not completely self-sustaining, but we learned a lot doing that. As a matter of fact, when we started our traveling experience, we started on the East Coast because it was easy to find water. And then we finished up in Arizona, where there was very little water to come by. So we had to pull water out of streams. We did that once in South Dakota, and then we did it again, more successfully actually, in Utah, I think it was. But we learned a lot. So now we live off grid. We don't live off the power grid. We have our own water. We're raising our own food now. We're getting where we're almost completely self-sustaining with raising food. I've talked to you about how Carolyn can grow these sunflower seeds, and every time I bring it up, I forget to show you what it looks like, but I've showed you several times. But she can grow them in little bottles. This is what the bottle looks like, a little juice bottle right here. And so she grows it, puts, you know, just a handful of sunflower seeds in there, and by the time it's all done, it's grown up inside the bottle. So she can convert 50 pounds of sunflower seeds into 250 pounds of food for the chickens, and that's 23, well actually I looked it up, I've been wrong, I've been saying 23%, it's actually 29% protein, which is much higher than what they need. And I also learned that if your chickens start to slow down producing eggs, if you fed them sunflower seeds, they'll start producing eggs at a better rate. I don't know if that's true, but we're going to give it a try. Right now, I've been giving the sunflower seeds to the little babies that we're incubating, and because I want them to grow up quickly so we can butcher them. We've kind of slowed down on egg production a little bit, not drastically. So I thought I'd throw out the sunflower seeds at the bigger chickens and see what happens. So now all we have to do is grow sunflower seeds next year to see how much we can produce. Carolyn wants to get another bag. We've had one bag that's lasted 1 year now, and she thinks it'll last another month, and then we'll get another bag and we'll see how long that lasts. And what we're trying to do is wean ourselves out having to buy so much chicken food and see if we can raise it here, because we have a lot of things, you know, just stuff, all this property they can eat, but it doesn't give them everything they need. They got to have that protein, and there's just not a lot of protein in this. So that means that we're self-sustaining with electric, self-sustaining with water, self-sustaining with our food. Then we have our house, and of course the house is shelter, self-sustaining. We have firewood. We got 15 years of firewood. Every time I say that, somebody asks me, how do you preserve it so termites don't get it? You can buy this stuff called Terminex, and that kills the termites. And then once a year, just kind of powder it down with 7 and just to keep the bugs off of it. If SHTF were to happen, that would be a little bit more difficult to do. So I don't have a big concern that we're going to get a lot of bugs eating that up. I've talked about that before. I don't want to spend this video talking about it, but as long as you keep it off the ground, it doesn't rot. There's a pile of firewood when we moved here, probably from the 1970s, down in the woods. It was off the ground, burned it just fine. Then we need defense. We got to be able to defend ourselves, and I've talked about that quite a bit. We're going to buy ourselves a little alarm, another little alarm that will send a signal up to the house. And so we'll have a squealer in the house. Not only will have a squealer down there, we'll have a squealer in the house. And we were talking about maybe we should move the chicken cage, you know, chicken run up here closer to the house. But my concern is the only way to access this side of the house is come out onto the porch, because that window that faces that direction doesn't open. So I would have to expose myself to bad guys to address a bad guy trying to steal our chickens. Or if we keep the chickens down here where they are, we have a window that faces that direction, and I would be able to take action that way without exposing myself to the bad guys. But this is all theory and hypothetical about bad guys. I've said before, I think we're in a pretty good location. I don't think a lot of people are going to come down here trying to steal our food. I think they're going to go places where there is food, farming communities. This isn't a farming community. So location's important. And then the other day I was talking about addictions and how we have a coffee addiction and how we plan to get off of it. You know, we got a stockpile of coffee, and we'll just start reducing the amount of coffee that we drink. Once the coffee is off the shelves and you can't buy it anymore, we'll come home. Instead of making 2 pots of coffee a day, we'll make 1. Just trying to wean ourselves off it slowly. Coffee's not hard to get off of. I've done it before. Several of the commenters have said, yeah, coffee's not a big deal. But obviously, there's a lot more addictive things. Cigarettes would be pretty complicated. I told you I got off cigarettes by using the vape. I used the vape for a year, and I just kept reducing the amount of nicotine I needed. I don't know, about once a month, something like that. And eventually I was able to get off the vape. And then we don't drink. I haven't drank anything in years. I would say 8-10 years I haven't drank anything. And so I was explaining to you how important this is, because if SHTF happens, you won't be able to have access to these things. So somebody said you need to buy instant coffee because it's freeze dried and you put it in your water and you drink it. But that you're missing the point. The point is we have no place to stockpile it. How long would your stockpile last? That's what I keep talking about, between the differences between self-sustaining and stockpiling. Stockpiling is not going to last. And I'm beginning to think people's imagination is limited. How much coffee would you actually need to last the rest of your life? Drinking at the same rate. Now, if you drink maybe a cup a day, that's fine. But now remember this, we're going to store it. And do you really want to store coffee? Coffee is not an essential. Coffee is a want. Cigarettes are a want. We live in a tiny house. We don't have a lot of storage, so we got to really think about stockpiling, and that we just don't stockpile. We live self-sustaining. We produce what we eat each year. So we're going to butcher chickens, we're going to can it up, we're going to replace what we've already eaten. We got about 300 days worth of food in there. Then we'll bring our food back up to normal levels. And I don't want to say we're stockpiling, we're eating it. It's just part of the rotation. Self-sustaining. So when you get back to the basics, what do you need? Well, you need food, shelter, water, and defense. That's your basics. That's your needs. That's all you need. So SHTF, that's what you need to think about. You don't need air conditioning. So somebody's going to say, what about medication? I got to stockpile medication. Well, I don't know any doctor that is going to give you a stockpile of medication for the rest of your life. They're going to give you a prescription for 30 days. And secondly, how are you going to afford a stockpile of medication for the rest of your life? If you have medications that you need, then you need to start looking at things like this. How can you take care of yourself like the old timers did? You know, there were salves and teas and different things they would do and make from nature. And books like these, Back to Basics, this was written I think in the 80s, tells you how to do that. So you need to start thinking about, what can I do to take care of myself? I had a breathing problem last year. I mean, it was serious. And here we are going into an economic downturn, and I don't go to doctors. I just read today, doctors kill 253,000 people in the United States every year. There's only 46,000 car crashes. Doctors kill more people than car crashes. So I was having these breathing problems, and I kept buying Primatene Mist. Well, I started studying and trying to understand things, and we got on this carnivorous diet, and also my breathing problems got better, and my aches and pains got better. So we've really been researching how good is meat for you. So I got to alcohol in that video. I was talking about alcohol addiction, and I knew somebody was going to say it. So in the video, the original video, I said, somebody's going to say you need a still. That way you don't have to give up alcohol, and I was going to explain all that. Well, I got into editing the video, and I thought, you know what, people already know that. They know that they can get a still, but they're going to be smart enough to know that if they need corn for their still so they can make alcohol, they're going to realize, no, I don't want to do that because I need the corn to feed the livestock, or I need the ground to grow sunflower seeds. So you got to use the land to make sure that you meet the basics, which is food, shelter, water, and protection, security. That's the 4 things you need. If you're thinking about trying to grow corn for alcohol, you need to be thinking about trying to grow corn to eat or to feed your livestock, because we don't eat corn, we give it to the chickens, but we're going to give up corn completely and grow sunflower seeds. I have thought about running my generator off alcohol. You can run generator off alcohol, straight, 100% alcohol. Ethanol is what it's called. They put it in your gas tank in the car. Of course, it's going to run really hot and it's going to burn up your generator eventually. And back to basics, there's a chart in here that tells you that beets actually produce more alcohol per acre than corn. So it doesn't even make sense to raise corn. Corn is useless. Use beets, grow beets. And they say if you're into vegetables, I'm not, I'm a carnivorous diet, that beets are actually a super vegetable, superfood. That being said, I have since learned that I don't need to even use alcohol. It would make more sense to build a gasifier, a wood burning gasifier. And you can run your generator off that. There's videos all over the internet, YouTube for that. But you build a gasifier, you can run your generator using wood, firewood. If you would, I really appreciate it if you can click that super thanks button down there. So I hope I can inspire you to really expand your imagination so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.